Welcome to Mixed Needs Mama podcast, where we talk about parenting mixed needs families and building a family culture that honors God and every member in our family. We're so glad you joined us today. I'm your host, a mixed needs mama myself, Terrie Hellard-Brown, and I help Christian parents in mixed needs homes move from survival mode to sustainable peace. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is so important, and that is our marriage. When we are parenting a high needs child, it can take a toll on our marriage, and we must prioritize our marriage. What happens is we can become so busy parenting that we lose the relationship with each other. Then when our kids are grown, it seems like there's nothing there to hold on to and to maintain. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose sight of what's important. And that goes for everything we talk about: our relationship with God, our relationship with our kids, our relationships with our spouses. So we need to maintain those and keep those as the priority. Everything else is secondary to the relationships in our lives. So we want to share a few of the problems and a few of the solutions that we've used in our marriage. The main thing you see happen is the drift problem. That's where you're so busy doing what you're doing and parenting your children, you don't even fight. You just drift apart. You stop having that oneness in your conversation, in your time together, and you drift apart. And it feels like you've lost that connection. You just slowly stop connecting with one another. It seems that your child's needs fill every available space of your day, and your marriage gets whatever's left over. And that's usually not much, if anything. So this happens quietly, and it happens over time to the point that you may not even notice it. But there's a significant distance between you and your spouse. So you want to recognize that early on before it becomes bad, and you want to do something about it. Understand, this is not a character failure. This is just the fallout from what you're doing, and you're trying to be a good parent. You're trying to make a good home, but it's like physics. It just happens. If you're not intentional about your marriage relationship, you will drift apart. So we were in this boat when our kids were a little older. They were all like out of diapers, I think, by this point. And I just realized one day I felt like I didn't have any feelings, bad, good, or anything. I just was going through life, being a parent to the best of my ability and trying to be a good pastor's wife, missionary. And I just had no passion, no feeling, nothing. I just felt like a zombie. I felt like a shell of myself. So one of the things I did was I decided to say, I love you. And quite honestly, I wasn't even sure I felt it when I started saying it. But I knew that I had committed to my husband, and may not have been the butterflies in the tummy, Twitter-pated sort of love, but I knew I had committed to him, and that kind of love I had. So I just made it a point to say, I love you. And he did the same. We didn't even talk about it at first. I just one day started doing that. And I can tell you it's really effective if you just stop in the middle. Maybe he's said something or whatever, and you just look into his eyes and he's like, what? And you just say, I love you so much, or I appreciate you, or anything like that, or I just love you. I adore you, whatever. Doing it that way is so powerful. First of all, it's really powerful for yourself that you acknowledge, I really do love this person and I'm committed to them, and I'm so glad. That's another good one. I'm so glad I married you. I said that one a lot too. And when they return that, it just is amazing. It rekindled our relationship, and it also helped us to focus on that drift and to be able to talk about it and to recognize that we had to find ways to spend more time together. We had gotten into the habit, if we did have a date night, which was rare, but if we did, all we did was talk about the ministry or the kids. We didn't even have anything to say to each other about each other or anything. It was all about the kids or ministry. You may be in the middle of that right now, and you're going to have to be intentional about changing the trajectory that you're on, or you're going to keep drifting in two different directions. By the time you're in crisis, it's going to be a hard battle to win back your relationship. But if you start to see that drift and you make an intentional effort to reconnect with your spouse, do it now. Don't hesitate. It is well worth it. It really did help our entire family for Dave and I to rekindle our commitment to one another and our relationship with each other. It helped our children to feel more secure. It helped everything to come back to a more balanced and peaceful existence. I know our children are blessed because of what we did. The other thing we have to acknowledge is that we are all going through grief at different times, and we're in different stages. There are times that your husband will be totally accepting of what's going on, and you're in crisis mode. You're in depression mode or anger mode. So you're more emotional and they're not, or vice versa. And it just seems like betrayal, but it's not. It's just that we're in different stages, we're in different places. And acknowledging that doesn't fix it for sure, but acknowledging it does help us to walk through it without feeling betrayed. And that's really key. As long as we recognize we're not on opposite sides, we're not against each other, we just are at different stages right now. Something has set him off. He's worrying about the future. Maybe one of his friends' daughters got married and he's thinking, will our kids ever get married? What's going to happen if we die? And he spirals into this panic mode as the father who wants to care for his family. We're like doing our daily thing and we're okay. We're not emotional. We've got this down, and he's having a crisis. So acknowledging that, supporting each other through that, recognizing it's not a permanent place. We are working through things at different stages. I find it seems that God kind of works it out that way, where when one of us is in emotional crisis mode, the other is not. The other is much more calm. It's been that way through our entire marriage, that we'll be in opposite places when it comes to emotions and facing a situation. I look at that as a gift from God, because I could much better minister to my husband when he's in his panic than if I had been in a panic as well. We could have just spiraled down together otherwise. At that point, if you do find you're both in the same panic mode and you need help or whatever, find a counselor, find someone you can talk to. Don't hesitate. Now, the other thing we have happen is we can keep score. What we're living through, whether we're parents of just neurotypical children totally, or we have a mixed needs family, or we have all neurodivergent children, doesn't really matter. Parenting takes everything you've got. It just is the most difficult job you'll ever have, and probably the most difficult job you'll ever love. But you need to not keep score. It's not going to be equal. One of you is going to carry more than the other. A lot of times the mom is carrying more, especially if she's a stay-at-home mom doing homeschooling and all of that, going to all the doctor's appointments. So she's carrying more of the load. There was a time in our marriage, a very short time, where Dave could not find work. There was just no work available. So I went ahead and went back to work. So he was Mr. Mom for a short time. He was carrying the at-home load and taking the kids to the doctor and all of that. And it was tough. For one thing, I was used to it and he wasn't. It makes it more difficult. He did a great job, by the way. He really, really did. We can't keep score of who's having to do more, who's more depleted, who's having the rougher time. It doesn't do any good. And it's not going to be equal. You can acknowledge it, that it's not equal, and accept it and adjust it if possible. But don't let that become a root of bitterness in your relationship. Don't let it cause resentment to calcify and to be in your relationship. So we want to stay on the same page with one another and keep moving forward, recognizing that there are going to be inequalities. It just is the way it is. Okay, there's also times that we will run into a wall with how to handle a certain situation or how to discipline. Every family runs into that. It can become more intensified with neurodivergent children, but it certainly is not exclusive to neurodivergent parenting. Every child needs to be disciplined, and every couple struggles with what is the right way to discipline in any given situation. The key to me is to respect your spouse, to not undermine what they're trying to do. Now, your husband may feel that there needs to be a little bit more push for independence with your neurodivergent child, and maybe you feel you want to be more accommodating for their sensory needs and you don't want to push them too hard. So you come across as lenient, he comes across as harsh to you. You feel betrayed and you feel like you're on opposite sides. The truth is, you're on the same side. We all want to raise our children to be responsible, functional adults, and we're trying to do it the best we can. When we disagree, sometimes maybe we need to talk through it and kind of find a middle ground, but sometimes we need to let our spouse do what they feel is right and do not undermine them. Do not say something later against the spouse. I have gone to my spouse and talked about what I disagreed with whatever situation, and he's talked to me about whatever situation he disagreed with the way I handled it. But we talked privately about that. There have been times that one of us was too harsh, and we confronted each other on it privately, and then we could go back and address that with the child because we were the one who was too harsh, not having the spouse say something about the other spouse that isn't appropriate. That's so important because we do not want to undermine each other's authority with the children. We do not want to be on opposite sides saying anything that would disrespect our spouse toward our children. We want to keep that protected, and then we can talk about it privately. Now, that's not talking about severe abuse or anything like that. I'm just talking about differences in the way to approach something, because there are different ways to approach things. Sometimes we do need to push a little harder, and sometimes we do need to be more accommodating. Sometimes it's hard to know how much to do this or that. No one is perfect, and we're going to interpret that differently sometimes. That's what I'm talking about. If there's abuse or something like that, that's a whole different ballgame, and we can talk about that another time. Okay, so then the other part of this is a spiritual battle. The enemy wants to destroy our family. He wants to destroy our marriage, wants to destroy our children. Anything that honors God, he wants to destroy. So we need to acknowledge that. Please acknowledge that and recognize we are in a battle. And the enemy wants to drive a wedge between you and your spouse more than anything else, because then the whole family is split apart. So we need to be more diligent in our prayer. Praying is going to be the most important battlefield. The most important thing we do together is to pray for our marriage, pray specifically about our child as well as for our child. This will put us both in the same posture before God. We are dependent on God. We are asking humbly for his help, and we are together in that. So we need to acknowledge the warfare that we're in and approach it with prayer. Now, some of the other practical advice that I have is what my husband and I did when we were parenting our children when they were young is tag team parenting. This is when one of you is starting to get burned out or exhausted. The other one, you tag them, they come in, they take the kids to dinner without you. They go to the park without you and let you have a moment of respite while they take the reins for a while. And then when they get back, maybe the kids just wore them out. Maybe they went to play laser tag or something and they're worn out. So then you spend the evening doing the baths and the story time and let your spouse have a break. Tag team it, help each other out. You are a team and you can tag team each other to help in the parenting. You can't always parent at the same time together. Sometimes you have to tag team it. The other thing is the same team attitude. Always, always in our marriage, we have worked so hard to look at we are on the same team. We are attacking the problem. We are not attacking one another. We may come at the problem from different directions, from different ideas and attitudes, but we can work through that as long as we have the understanding and the foundation that we are on the same team. We both want to see our children, like I said, grow up to be successful adults and to be responsible. So even if we're coming at it from different directions, we have the same goal, the same desire in mind. So we are on the same team. We're trying to navigate what is the right response, what is the right way to approach this problem. So we want to have the tag team model, the same team model, the prayer model that we're in a spiritual warfare for our marriage and for our family. Also, you want to know when to get help. This is something we set up before we ever had a problem. Is you have a couple, we have an older couple that we can go to and talk to about anything. There's no subject that's off limits, and we can go to them at any time. They have been there for us over the years, and we've rarely had to call them with a problem. But just knowing they were there helped tremendously. So do that. If you cannot find a couple, find a counselor you trust, find a pastor you believe in and can trust who's a good counselor. Have that in place. This is part of the culture in the Philippines that I love. They choose the couples that are going to be their sponsors before they get married. And we were chosen by this one couple that got married that if they ever need to talk to someone, they can call us and talk to us. It was a great honor to be asked to do that. They've never had to contact us, but they may someday. Set that up before you ever have your first child, your first problem. Set it up and then have that there when needed, and especially as you're walking through the parenting situation. My last piece of advice for practical way to preserve your marriage, even in the midst of all of this, is to protect something that's just yours as a couple, not necessarily a date night. We're usually too tired for that. Every time we'd have an opportunity for a date night, we really just wanted to go to bed. We were so tired. And we were like, we got to go out. So do something smaller that is regular. So we had a couple movies that are our favorites, and we would have those back in the day on DVD and stuff. But now you can get them on Netflix or Prime or whatever. Go watch that old movie together that makes you laugh, that reconnects you to your earlier days in your marriage. Or plan to spend an evening playing your favorite board game. Something that you two just do together that is not overly taxing energy-wise, kind of low key, but high return, because you are connecting with your spouse. So that way you can, even having just a 10-minute conversation that is not about the kids or work, but about each other. That can do a lot to reconnect you two in your marriage and to combat the drift. Those are the practical things we have for you. We brainstormed a lot of ideas to try to help make our marriages stronger as we're walking through this challenge that we have as parents. It is a challenge. It's one we love, one we're thankful for, but it is a challenge, and we don't want to lose our marriage in the process. So many marriages today are not breaking up in the early years. They're breaking up when people are hitting their 60s because their kids are out of the house and there's nothing left between the two spouses. We don't want that to happen. As always, if you have any ideas of what you're using and it's helping your marriage to stay strong, please put that in the comments below the show notes or on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions or you're dealing with something specific you'd like us to address, put that in the comments as well. We will get back to you. We always do. I'm just excited to see what God is going to do. He's brought you here today for a reason, to hear this podcast. He wants to preserve your marriage. He wants to build it stronger than ever. And with his help, you can. I hope some of these ideas help you strengthen your marriage and help you as your parent, your child. I'm excited to see what God is going to do this week in your home.